Hi, folks. It's Sunday afternoon, about was it afternoon, I suppose. I've been looking at various things online, and it's really odd when when your information comes from something that you've lived. It gives you a real perspective on what is true and what is not true that you encounter. And I want to say this carefully because you've heard me say people need to build bridges of common ground. It's the rich against the rest of us. And I would say that's true. Well, look at it this way. The dark side, whomever they may be, I don't want to know. I have my suspicions that are into pedophilia. You can sell drugs once, you can sell children a lot. And that's how they got into it. Plus, it's easy to exploit systems that are created that make poor people vulnerable, and then it flies under the radar because everybody thinks the poor are just lazy. Think about it. How did my dad get away with sexually abusing 3-year-olds from 1956 to 1986? He had a PhD in architecture, he was a Marine, more than likely belonged to that organization that starts with an M. And there's got to be hundreds of victims out there. Hundreds and hundreds. And one of the reasons I came back online was not only to leave a legacy for my daughter, but to find out who his victims are and to find my brother and sister who I've never met. On my father's side, I have a half-brother and sister, and on my mother's side, I had a half-brother and sister who both died from the side effects of abuse. And I kept asking myself after they passed, what am I here for? I'm the oldest. I should have gone first. And yet I'm still here. Probably because I told the right people about things that had happened to me, but I'm not safe by any stretch of the imagination. I'm purposefully obtuse about this because I don't want the same kind of harassment I had before. I'd like to ask people on the left and the right who are looking at this to suspend your animosity towards that other side of human beings, not the big people, but the little ordinary people. Find common ground before it's too late. When I think back on it, there were several reasons I got hacked at Facebook, and I think chief among those was I was one of those people who kept saying, the thing we have in common is pedophilia. Let's unite over this one issue. And when I look back into the reasons, there were multiple reasons I got hacked, but I think that was one of the primary. My dad's life and my life kind of proved some of this stuff, and as somebody pointed out to me, with one of my relatives being a distant cousin of an inbred royal, they got good reason to shut me up. So I don't know if I have a mark on my back or what's going on or any of it. I just know that my gut tells me to be wise and wary in the words that I use and to be very careful. I just feel like those of us who are survivors a little bit further along the road that are in places that we can talk a little bit more openly about side effects, and side effects being backlash and retribution for telling the truth. That's when I knew our country was messed up about 20-something years ago, when I got punished for speaking the truth. I grew up with lawyers. It was beaten into me to tell the truth. And now that I've had a stroke, it's impossible to lie because you need a friggin' good memory to lie. I wish I could add some music to this. If I did, it would be this song by David Crosby called "Time is the Only Currency, Not Money, Not Power. The time will come when you will give anything for one more hour." Whatever you may think of the man since his liver transplant, he's been writing some pretty beautiful stuff with his son on CPR, and his new CD, Cross, is just phenomenal. I love how he mentions Jesus in one of his songs, and that people don't realize who the old man in the robes was. And Jesus, he uses a line that says, God forgive them, for they know not what they do. Does that sound familiar to you? All this animus, all this bitterness, and the world is still a glorious place to live in. There's still wonderful people out there. But every time I go online and I listen to some of the people I know are telling the truth, boy, does it trigger me. Goose pimples, hair standing on the back of my neck. Sometimes I throw up. For a certain person with the initials FJ, your stuff is good. It's so good it makes me throw up. And that's not a diss. That's a compliment. Sometimes truth hits too close to home, don't you know? I hope everybody's having a lovely afternoon or evening. Take everything you learn and go sit outside with the trees and pray. Prayer is thought, thought is energy, energy is physics. And wait. Wait on God to send you an answer. Your brain is bigger than the whole internet. Take care.